Recently, a very good friend felt compelled to remind me that running a role-playing game is not the same thing as writing a story. That observation is completely correct. Except, that observation is also just as absolutely wrong, because there are infinitely many different ways to run a game successfully, just as there are infinitely many different ways to write a story. Welcome to Indeterminate Infinities, where we discuss multifarious aspects of the art of game mastering. My name is Gene. I'm a professional writer and information architect, and I've been DMing for 49 years. Over the years, I've been a panelist at conventions talking about how to write fiction, usually science fiction and fantasy. I've taught workshops, participated in critique groups, and written articles and blog posts giving writing advice. I often preface my remarks in those venues by quoting something that I read first in an article in The Writer magazine many decades ago. I can't teach you how to write fiction. No one can. The same is true for GMing. All that any of us can do is talk about how we do it. Your process is going to be just as individual as you are. I can explain things that work for me. I can talk about things that I've tried that didn't work. I can tell you how I altered some advice I got from another writer in order to create a method that works for me. Some of my tips and tricks might work for you, or they may inspire you to try something else. Your process will be different from mine. Now, there is no single correct method for running a game, nor is there a single correct way to write a story. There is no process by which you can prove, therefore, that some people's way of writing a story isn't identical to some other person's way of running an RPG. Now, there are no shortage of videos out there where experienced game masters and players will warn you not to approach the job of being a DM by telling your players a story or trying to herd your players into a specific sequence of events that will add up to a plot. Many of those videos will insist that game masters absolutely are not storytellers. However, there is also no shortage of videos out there made by GMs, both amateur and professional, in which they will praise the storytelling skills of another GM. Just to give you one example, after Matt Mercer handed the DMing reins at Critical Role over to Brennan Lee Milligan so that Matt could be a player for at least one campaign, Matt praised Brennan's storytelling skills in dozens of interviews, videos, and podcasts. Most of the people out there, including my friend, who argue that running an RPG is not the same as storytelling, are doing so because they've conflated the idea of railroading with telling a story. They are assuming that the only way to tell a story is for the writer to create some characters, put them into a predicament, plan meticulously every step that the narrative will go through until the characters reach the conclusion that the author outlined from the very beginning. I've known some writers who claim that that is exactly how they write stories, but every writer I've ever gotten to know well enough to discuss details reveals that they do not write that way. When they start, they may have an ending in mind. They may know the emotional journey their characters are going to take, but there's always an element of discovery along the way. That's the reason why many famous authors have described the second draft of any story as the process in which you make it look like you knew what you were doing from the beginning. Now, for me, I seldom have any idea how a story will end when I start writing. The satisfying ending may not become obvious until the fourth or fifth draft. I'm also often surprised while I'm writing a scene when a character starts doing or saying things I hadn't planned. Now, to be completely pedantic, obviously, when characters I'm writing about do or say surprising things, it's because my subconscious has decided that that's what they'll do, which is different than when a game master is surprised by choices their players make. But what I do when I'm surprised at what words come out of my fingers while I'm typing is I keep going and see where it leads, which is exactly what any game master should do when a player surprises them. Keep going and see where it leads the party next. A lot of people, including, unfortunately, my many professional writers describe plot as the sequence of all of the events that happen in a story. They are wrong. And it's not just me saying that. This is a small sample of books, many considered classics, on the topic of writing. And those books all describe a plot as an obstacle, problem, or mystery which confronts the protagonist at the beginning of the story, that the protagonist struggles with through the story, and in the end is resolved by the protagonist's own actions. Please note that I said resolved, not solved. If the protagonist solves the problem, yay! The story is a tale of a victory. If the protagonist, despite her best efforts, fails to solve the problem, then the story is a tragedy. Either way, it's still a story. And note that that definition didn't say every single event that happened in the story. It just gave the problem, the protagonist's relationship to the problem, and how the ending should resolve, or how that problem should relate to the resolution at the end. When you, as a game master, place an obstacle or problem or mystery in front of your players, allow the players to react to the problem. When they take action, imagine how any NPCs and the world itself will react to those player actions. Then, using the skills of a storyteller, show the readers, with your words, the results of their actions. It's a back and forth, a collaboration, a work in progress. The reason many people think that running a game is not like writing a story is because even though they may say the word writing, which is a present tense verb, they are actually thinking having written, past tense. They are imagining only the final product of the writing process, a completed, edited, polished story, and not the process of narrative exploration that it takes for the writer to get there. Running a game, present tense, is similar to writing a story in, dare I say, infinitely many ways. The game master sets up a situation. The game master dangles a hook, an obstacle or a problem, in front of the players. The players react. They ask questions. They take action. The game master then treats each question or action as an improv writing prompt. Don't tell them what to do next. Simply show them, with your words, what their action causes to happen. Then let them react to that. Ask them, what are you going to do next? For example, an evil warlord wants to conquer the kingdom. He has captured the princess who is heir to the throne. The players may decide they should mount a daring attack on the warlord's castle and rescue the princess. Whether that's what you had in mind or not, answer their questions when they research the warlord. Answer their questions when they go to scout out the castle. When they check things out, you can describe how big and formidable the castle is. Let them see how many more bad guys are guarding the princess than they had assumed. After seeing that, maybe they'll decide to try to sneak in rather than make a frontal assault. Or maybe not. Whatever they do, they're going to do it. Maybe they think that they are skilled enough and have enough spell slots and weapons that the assault will work. So let them try. If they fail, though, don't kill them. And let the warlord capture them and throw them in the dungeon. Now they're on the inside. They could try to escape and take the princess with them. Heck, the PCs will probably try to tell the princess that's what they meant to do all along. Their supposed frontal assault was merely a ruse. You, the game master, don't know how they're going to resolve the situation. They will do that. This, by the way, is one of the reasons why you shouldn't prep for more than one session at a time, even if you're planning an epic campaign. But that's a discussion for another video. Today's takeaway is running a game is not about hurting your players, but it is about setting up a situation and enabling them to solve the problem their own way. And let's leave it there. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider hitting the like button and or sharing the video. Click subscribe to be notified when new Indeterminate Infinity videos are uploaded. And until then, keep dreaming.